designers, we love to take something insignificant and turn it into something amazing. What about your paper scraps? You love to hang on to those paper scraps because you know they can be used for something. And today I have a card idea, actually several card ideas you are going to love using your paper scraps. Let's take a look. The scrap cards we're going to look at today are quilt cards made out of your paper scraps. And these have turned out, in my opinion, absolutely beautifully. They're some of my favorite scrap cards I've ever made. So what I love about this is you can use different shapes, different sizes, attach them in different arrangements to get unlimited end results. So the shapes I've played around with, I've used squares, I've used rectangles, I've used triangles. I stuck to some pretty basic sizes like 1 by 1 inch squares or 1 by 2 inch rectangles or 1 inch or 2 inch squares that I cut in half for my triangles. And then I attach them in different arrangements. As you can see, you can put the squares on square, you can put them on at an angle. When you start working with triangles, there are so many possibilities for how you can put those on. So let's talk about the steps to prepare one of these scrap cards. First, you want to prep your pieces. For the card we're going to make right now, what I did was I had 1 inch strips and I trimmed them into either 1 by 1 inch squares, 1 by 2 inch rectangles, and I have a few 1 by 3 inch rectangles as well. The next thing you want to do is cover either your card base or your piece of cardstock that you're attaching them to. Cover it in adhesive. I played around with different adhesives. I use tape, I use glue. There are pros and cons to each one. The glue can be a little bit messier, but it allows you some wiggle room if you don't get it laid down in exactly this right spot. For this one right now, let's go with some Stamp and Seal, just because I won't have to wait for it to dry at all. So if you're using tape, you want to cover, you don't have to cover the entire thing, but you do need to get pretty good coverage. And it also depends on how large your pieces are. The smaller your pieces are, the better coverage you need to get with your adhesive, just to make sure that all of those little pieces have a nice spot to attach to. So for this one, I may be flipping my pieces over at times. What I did for getting my scraps was I keep all my paper scraps in with my designer paper. So I grabbed some of my designer papers, pulled out a bunch of my smaller pieces, trimmed them into the right sizes that I wanted, so that they all coordinate this way. You can do this however you like, of course, but I am just going to start attaching these. And for this one, I don't have any particular arrangement in mind. So I am just going to start attaching and see what happens. Now, when I got to this part on some of my other cards, I had a decision to make. One, I can fill in this little gap that's over here on the edge, or two, I could trim it off. Now for some of these others, I trimmed them off and made them a little bit different sizes. So this one is a standard size card, whereas this one, I ended up trimming some of the ends off to make it a little bit shorter, just to make it fit the pattern of my scraps. On this one, I am going to go ahead and fill in this edge. And to do that, I want to make sure I have plenty of adhesive there, so I am going to add a little bit of glue. Once the glue is dry, you can trim off your edges. So you can use scissors for this. You can also lay this on your trimmer and trim them off all at once with that, if you prefer. I do have a tag to add on here. And on all of these cards, I just decided to use one little tag to keep it really simple. And I actually pulled my tags out of my mini messages tag box. If you haven't seen this, this is like a game changer when it comes to your card making projects. This is a fishing tackle box, and I have filled it with tags that I created with the mini messages stamp and die set, which is one stamp and one die that will allow you to create, it's either 17 or 19 tags by stamping it once and cutting it out once, and it creates all of these. So I created literally hundreds of them in just minutes and organized them here. And when I'm making projects like this, it is so nice to be able to pull these out. So you can use the link to find that mini messages video if you'd like to take a look at that. So if you like the look of these, then you can leave them as is. If you really want it to look like a quilt, what you can do is grab a marker or a pen and add some stitching like I did on this one. On this one, I chose to add that stitching around the edges of each little quilt block, each little scrap piece, or you could do different stitching arrangements just like you can do on a quilt. If you like these quilt cards, there is another video you should check out, and it's one where I used our Stitched Triangles dies to make some quilt cards. Now in that video, I highlighted a stamp set that went with these that is no longer available, but you can still make absolutely beautiful cards with just the dies alone. So thanks so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed these scrap cards to make beautiful quilts. You can find ideas for these by going to Pinterest or Google or wherever you like to search for ideas, and search for quilt patterns, quilt block patterns, quilt designs, and you can get lots of inspiration for these cards. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.